You know, I'm having a bit of Zelda fatigue with this channel, so I think it's time to talk about another popular game series I haven't covered yet. I know, how about Pokémon? Yep, although I'm nearing my 30s, I've been playing Pokémon since secondary school, and I've been keeping in touch with the series ever since. From Red to Blue to Scarlet and Violet, there are over 1,000 Pokémon established in this long running series, and there are a whole lot of them I have a soft spot for. From those that left a huge impression during the early days, to those that stood out in a particular generation. In this video, we're going to take a look at 6 of my favourite Pokémon. Why 6? Because in the games, you can only carry 6 at a time, so why not try to keep on brand with the idea? Instead of ordering these Pokémon from least to best, I'm going to go through them in numerical national dex order, just to change things up a little bit. So here we go, these are my 6 favourite Pokémon, starting with number 1. Omastar. This might be an odd choice, and truth be told, this was not a Pokemon I used to care much about, but it wasn't until Pokemon Black and White that this fossil Pokemon made me turn my head, all because of a little move called Shell Smash. By trading its defences for higher offense and speed, Omastar becomes quite a valuable asset, which can take on many Pokemon. Since Omastar leans more towards special attack, it can exploit its increased power with moves like Hydro Pump, Surf, Ancient Power, and Ice Beam, to give it an edge against a variety of opposing types. While Hydro Pump is a bit of a risk due to it not having 100% accuracy, it's a risk I'm willing to make to bring out Omastar's true might, and the result when it does land is damn satisfying. I typically give it a White Herb to hold as it removes the defensive debuff after using Shell Smash, which does give back some of Omastar's durability, and to avoid having its stat boosts go to waste by being taken out with a critical, I usually keep its secondary ability of Shell Armor, which outright prevents critical hits. Swift Swim would be ideal for double matches, as its partner can set up Rain Dance, but I mainly stick to singles as I feel these matches are the best way to test an individual Pokemon's usefulness, and in Omastar's case, I find it to be quite reliable. But it does have its flaws. One hit from a Grass type move will almost guarantee to one-shot it due to its Water and Rock typing, and its special defense is quite low that it's vulnerable to special electric, ground and fighting type moves. Another lackluster trait is that there aren't many special rock type moves for Omastar to take advantage of, and while I think Ancient Power is serviceable, its low PP amount does make using the move limited, especially if it can't take out the opponent with one hit due to its low power of 60. The same goes for Hydro Pump because of its accuracy, which is probably why most people would prefer to use Surf. Still, Omastar is not a Pokemon to underestimate, as with the right build and timing, can even outspeed some naturally speedy Pokemon, like Dragapult and Salazzle. It's a shame Omastar isn't available in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because this is a Pokemon worth investing in, and it's a reminder that with a little change and update in a Pokemon's move pool, even the old school Pokemon back in Generation 1 can find its place in the spotlight. Number 2. Dragonite. Dragon types are generally considered to be powerful Pokemon, and while most of them are powerful, the strongest ones are usually banned in competitive play due to their legendary and mythical status. So if one were to pick a non-legendary dragon type, most would pick Garchomp, but for me, I would typically go for Dragonite, the reason being purely due to its hidden ability, Multiscale. At full health, Dragonite can half the damage it takes, which can withstand many attacks, and with the right build and held item, it can even tank an ice attack. This is something that other dragon types that have a 4 times weakness to ice can't manage alone. It might seem a bit gimmicky for Dragonite, but it does allow it to survive and sneak in a Dragon Dance to boost its attack and speed, and knock the opponent for 2 with moves like Dragon Claw, Iron Head, Fire Punch, Earthquake, and many more. The great thing about Multiscale is that it can be reactivated if Dragonite can heal itself, and that's where Roost comes in handy. Not only is it a good way to heal Dragonite, but it also removes its flying type when used, which can be helpful if used first during a turn because it can reduce and even remove super effective damage. I enjoy using Dragonite, but a downside to it is that it barely has any flying type moves to exploit. Air Slash and Hurricane are powerful, but unfortunately Dragonite's special attack isn't particularly monstrous compared to its attack, and the only moves it can use are Aerial Ace and Wing Attack. There is dual Wing Beat, but it's not easy to learn outside of Pokemon Sword and Shield. I also find that its moveset can be a little limiting due to the requirements of Dragon Dance and Roost to draw out its potential. While a combination of Dragon Claw and Fire Punch is great, it would leave Dragonite locked to Fire Punch against Fairy-type Pokémon, and if that Fairy Pokémon is paired with Water or Rock, that would be problematic. Ironhead would be great against Fairy and Ice types, but it would struggle against Steel types. It's not easy to come up with the best move combination for Dragonite, and even though it has coverage over many Pokémon types, no matter what you go with, it will fall short against something because of the need for Dragon Dance and the limitation of only allowing 4 moves at a time. One more thing I want to bring up is that I'm disappointed that Game Freak has gone out of its way to stop Dragonite from using Hone Claws, as I feel that is an alternative to Dragon Dance. Instead of raising speed, Hone Claws increases attack and accuracy, which would have made the hard-hitting Dragon Rush a viable Dragon move option, as well as Iron Tail. But for some reason, Game Freak doesn't want Dragonite to have options, so it's back to Dragon Claw, or going for Outrage, which hasn't served me well in the past. Despite its shortcomings, Dragonite is in no way a weak Pokémon. You can always rely on it to get the job done. It even helped me in Pokémon Violet in defeating the False Dragon Titan at an early age in the game, which meant it was over-leveled to obey my commands. But it still pulled through and demonstrated once and for all why it's one of my favourite Pokémon. Number 3. Typhlosion. What's interesting about Typhlosion is that it shares the same base stats with Charizard, and while many would pick the latter, I'd pick the former solely because I'm not a fan of Charizard's 4x weakness to Rock. Seriously, one Rock Slide will crush its Stone... Cold? At least Typhlosion has a chance to withstand Rock moves with only 2x weakness, but I guess in some circumstances it probably wouldn't matter. Anyway, with Typhlosion, there was more sentimental value with my choice as one of my favourite Pokémon, which stems back to Pokémon Colosseum, where I chose to capture Shadow Quilava first, and through my playthrough after purifying it, Typhlosion was nothing short of a reliable powerhouse. Mind you, it may have been due to how back in Generation 3, physical and special attacks were tied to specific types that made moves like Flame Wheel seem powerful. But even with the refined battle system of Generation 4 onwards, Typhlosion is still a favourite of mine. It's cool looking and has a plethora of move combinations to choose from. I typically go with a solid moveset of Flamethrower, Earthquake, Rock Slide and Eruption for when it has full HP. Interestingly, Typhlosion has access to Thunder Punch and Wild Charge, which could be used to counter water types, but then a Sunny Day powered Solar Beam can cover all of its weaknesses in one move. Granted, Charizard can pull this off too, and arguably better due to Charizard's hidden ability, which kinda leads to one of Typhlosion's problems, in that its abilities aren't particularly great. There's no point harping on Blaze because it's a staple for starter Pokemon, but I think Typhlosion could have ended up with a better hidden ability than Flash Fire. I don't know, maybe Drought or Moxie would help give it a bit of an edge. Flash Fire seems very situational and would only come in handy with well-timed Pokemon switching. I should probably mention with Pokemon Legends Arceus, Typhlosion gained a regional variant with Hisuian Typhlosion, which gains the dual typing of Fire and Ghost. And also looks like it's stoned and mellowed out. They should have made it Fire and Grass type.
Smoke weed every day.
It has a different stat distribution to the original Typhlosion, which caters more towards special attack, and comes with a devastating signature move. Its original ability is Blaze like normal, but its hidden ability... Oh Frisk, are you serious? You couldn't have had something different like Cursed Body or Shadow Tag, or even a new ability exclusive to Friskian Typhlosion. Regardless, Typhlosion is still one of my favourite fire starter Pokemon. I do like other fire starters like Charizard and Delphox, but whenever Typhlosion is available, I will always go out of my way to raise a strong one, and the fact that it has a regional variant as well is what makes it all the more awesome. Number 4. Espeon. I want to go on record by saying my favourite Pokemon type is Psychic, and Espeon is the reason for that. I also want to go on record by saying Espeon is my personal favourite Pokemon of all time. Like Typhlosion, there's sentimental value in Espeon which also dates back to Colosseum, but over the series, Espeon has been made available since its debut and has stood the test of time by holding its own to changes in gameplay. From gaining an amazing hidden ability of Magic Bounce in Generation 5, to being granted access to moves like Dazzling Gleam and Power Gem, there are plenty of reasons why Espeon is considered one of the best Psychic-type Pokemon among trainers. With moves like Psychic, Shadow Ball, Last Resort, Future Sight, Dazzling Gleam, Reflect, Light Screen, Morning Sun, and plenty more, Espeon has got you covered. Its HP and defense are a little low, but it makes up for it for its high special attack and speed and decent special defense. I do typically give it Reflect just to give its defense a little boost, but it's not entirely for Espeon's benefit since the effect lingers even if Espeon faints or is switched out, which could add more bulk to other Pokemon with high defense. There is one drawback to Espeon though, in that it has a hard time against Steel types due to the lack of access to a fighting or fire type move, but at one point it did with moves like a fire type Hidden Power. Unfortunately though, since Generation 8, Hidden Power has ceased to exist. The same goes for Signal Beam, which was an amazing move against Dark types, but that too is no longer usable. I suppose though, in Scarlet and Violet, it can be given a Fire Terra type and Terra Blast to gain back its coverage against Steel types. What can I say? Espeon is a very well balanced Pokemon, one I am proud to own, especially a female one, as they are rare for the EV line. It's safe to say at this point, for every new entry in the Pokemon series, the EV line is guaranteed to appear, which makes it all the more exciting to reunite with Espeon time and time again. Number 5. Heracross. This Pokemon, like Omastar, wasn't one I cared for too much back in the day, but in recent games, Heracross has been getting my attention. Having a very interesting type combination of bug and fighting, what makes Heracross stand out is its secondary ability and move pool. With it having a high attack stat, one would naturally try to burn Heracross to cripple its attack, but with the ability Guts, which boosts its attack by 50% when inflicted with a status effect, it does more good than harm as it removes the burn's attack penalty. And since Heracross has access to Sword Stance and Facade, any Pokemon that isn't Rock, Steel or Ghost type will more than likely faint with one hit. While other Pokemon like Ursaring and Ursaluna can pull off the same combo, what Heracross has going for it is its speed, making it more likely to attack first. With it being a bug type, it stands a chance against psychic types with the all-powerful Mega Horn, and with moves like Rock Slide and Stone Edge, it can take out fire and flying types with ease. Speaking of flying types, Heracross's Achilles heel is its 4 times weakness to flying type. One flying type attack and it's back to the trainer it goes. If you're looking for a good strong fighting type, Heracross is one you should check out. It's cool looking, packs a punch, and has coverage over many Pokemon types, and that's what cements Heracross as one of my favourite fighting types. I should also mention that Heracross has a Mega Evolution, which gains a sharp attack increase, but does away with Guts in favour of Skill Link, which allows multi-hit moves to hit 5 times, and Heracross learns a lot, like Pin Missile, Arm Thrust, and Rock Blast. Sadly though, Mega Evolutions haven't made an appearance since Generation 7, which is a real shame because my 6th and final favourite Pokemon from this list benefited from having a Mega Evolution, which happens to be number 6. Gallade. My last but not least favourite Pokemon for this list is none other than the Psychic Fighting type, Gallade. I knew since Generation 4 that I would like the male counterpart to Gardevoir. In fact, I do like the whole Routes family and very much in general. It sparked quite a few fanfictions surrounding them back in the day. But the reason why Gallade is on this list unlike Gardevoir is mainly because its type is a combination of my favourite types. And not only that, but I've noticed Gallade has gone through some tweaks over the newer games that make it enjoyable to use. With it having blades for arms, it can learn a variety of blade moves, including Sacred Sword, which it recently gained in Scarlet and Violet. It also gained the new ability of Sharpness, which increased the damage of blade-like attacks, most fitting for a Pokemon like this. A move combination I like to give Gallade is Swords Dance and Drain Punch while holding a Big Root. Not only does it hit hard, but it heals Gallade very well. Psycho Cut is a must-have due to having a high critical hit rate, as well as being the only physical psychic type move it can learn apart from Zen Headbutt. Its 4th move is flexible with many moves to cover different Pokemon types. Examples are Night Slash, Leaf Blade, Poison Jab, Ice Punch, Aqua Cutter, the list goes on. What I love about Gallade is that it can play the role as a hunter, which is a Pokemon that can help catch other Pokemon. Since Gallade can learn Full Swipe, it can do a decent amount of damage without causing the Pokemon to faint. It has access to moves like Hypnosis or Thunder Wave, which can inflict a status on the opponent, which helps a lot. And if the wild Pokemon ever gets to the struggle stage, Gallade can keep it alive with Heal Pulse. You'll be surprised how many legendary Pokemon I've been able to catch thanks to this cool looking Pokemon. By no means is Gallade the strongest Pokemon of its kind, as its counterpart Gardevoir can take it out easily thanks to its fairy typing, but it's Gallade's low defense that really sets it back. Where Gardevoir and Gallade had the same base stat total with only their attack and special attack being swapped over, It would have helped if Gallade had a swap in its defense and special defense as well, to complement Gallade's high attack stat. And to reiterate my point about Mega Evolutions, Gallade had one which turned this Pokemon into the hero it deserves to be, giving it a high attack stat, as well as a well needed boost in its defense. Gallade is the definition of a cool Pokemon and one that illustrates the type of trainer I am. One that doesn't just use Pokemon that are statistically better off, but one that sees the potential in the lesser ones and make them useful in one way or another. I want to reiterate by saying the Pokemon I've covered here are not what I call my definitive Pokemon team, and by no means are the strongest there is. There are plenty of other Pokemon I consider my favourite, so you could say this is a pilot video which may lead to more Pokemon videos like this, and share 6 more of my favourite Pokemon. And trust me, there are a lot more. But the 6 I covered here were the first 6 that came to my head, which I guess you could say left a bigger impact. The whole point of the video is, as a fellow Pokemon trainer, I want to give Pokemon fans alike an insight into what kind of Pokemon I enjoy using, as well as give others ideas for potential builds for said Pokemon. There are plenty more Pokemon I use, and if you want to see more videos like this, definitely like and subscribe, and I'll share another of my 6 favourite Pokemon. Have a great day, and be sure to catch 'em all!